Okay, so on this problem, we're talking about graphs and what makes them move and do different things, specifically the square root graph. So let's first off talk about the square root graph. So y equals the square root of x. What does the graph of y equals the square root of x look like? It starts right in the center and it goes up to the right. It's shown right here. See the one in black? See what they say here? Y equals square root of x is shown in black. So there's that one right there. So the one right in the middle that starts right at the origin, that's the y equals square root of x. Now, what happens when we start tinkering with it and we put in a +2 or a -2 in different places? First off, we could put like a +2 outside of the root. So notice the difference from one of those two. There's whether it's a +2 or -2 and whether it's inside the root or outside the root. That matters a lot. That's going to really change things. So basically, here's the deal. If you do it outside the root, if you put the +2 like that, what that's going to do is make it go up 2. And so that's going to be this red one right here. See that guy? At least on my graph. That one will be the red one. Square root of x. With the +2 afterwards. So then I bet you can guess pretty easily that if we put the orange one is going to be down here, this is going to be the y equals square root of x -2, because that'll be the down 2, right? So if you put a +2 or a -2 outside of the square root, it means up 2 or down 2. So this will be the orange one, which is down 2. Now, what about when you put the +2 or the -2 inside of the square root? Well, this blue one right here, that's over to the right, that's actually going to be y equals square root of x -2. Surprisingly, right? We normally think of pluses to the right and minus to the left, don't we? This will actually mean right 2. So this one will be the blue one. So, and notice it's inside the root, which means it has a sideways effect. So basically, think about it this way. You know the old saying, you heard of the old saying, you can't really understand a person or judge a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes, until you know what their life is really dealing with. So that kind of, I'm going to use that little social saying to help us in math here. Basically, when you have like y equals square root, and you have a number either in the parenthesis or like out of the parenthesis, out of the square root, inside the square root or outside the square root. Think about when it's inside the root with the x, it's like it's walking in his shoes. It's in his world. When it's out, so this is inside, he's inside with x. So what that means is he's going to have an x effect. And what does that mean? X effect, sideways, right? The x-axis goes sideways. Does that make sense? Whereas this guy down here, this is outside of the root. The other one was inside the root. And so that's not in X's world. He's not walking in X's shoes, so to speak. He's not living in X's world. So he's not an X. He's not sideways. In other words, he's up and down. Right? You guys know what I mean? The x-axis is the sideways axis and the y is the up-down. Remember that kind of stuff, right? Oops, getting all scribbly here. The x-axis is the sideways axis and the y-axis is the vertical, right? So if something is inside X's world, if it's inside the square root, then it's in X's world and it's an X effect. It's a sideways effect. Whereas if it's outside of X's world, it's not an X, it's not sideways, it's up and down. Up and down. It's not sideways, it's up and down. It's actually a Y effect if it's not in X's world. So everything that's in X's world is going to be sideways. Everything outside of X's world is going to be up and down. And not only that, everything in X's world is opposite. So inside the root has an opposite effect. What do I mean opposite? I mean positive is actually left and negative is actually right. It's opposite of what we would expect. So that's why right here, the X minus 2 actually goes to the right. And then the very last one would be this green one over here. And that one's going to be square root of X plus 2. It's actually left 2. There it is, green one. X plus 2 actually means left 2, which is weird, right? Plus normally means right, but it's left. So it's sideways because it's in X's world. So anything inside the root is going to have a sideways effect, opposite sideways effect. Positive is left, negative is right. Anything outside of the square root, it's an up-down, and that's normal. Positive is up, negative is down. And so there we go.